And now, as requested by many commenters, I'll give you a tour of the interior of Ahaluna.
Cause that was the river, and this is the sea.
I will now show you the interior of Ahaluna as we enter into the pilot house. And I will definitely cover the pilot house more extensively in the next video. But here is a quick overlook. This is the bunk where I sleep at sea, with the lee cloth, of course, and the radars and navigation, computer, and the driver's seat over here. Very comfortable, very safe. And now we enter down the companionway, which has very solid, sturdy doors for safety. And now we come down into the saloon, and I will show you on the left we have the radio shack. Nothing to do with the chain store. That's what the radio room on ships used to be called, perhaps still is called. Here is the aft cabin and engine room, through the engine room, and the radios, HF radios mostly. And over on starboard we have the galley. We have a beautiful Australian broadwater 4-burner stove with big oven, and the all-important 24-volt voltmeter, which really dictates your life at sea when you're sailing, to make sure you have enough voltage with your various charging systems. And beautiful stainless steel counter with integral double sink, and the opening galley window, bronze window, very handy to get air if the weather permits. And now here we have the settee and the table, which is very comfortable to accommodate friends when you have them for dinner or any gathering. On the port side here we have the sofa, and this sofa folds down into a double bunk, or just a lounging area if you wish. And of course it has lee cloth capability also, which I use at sea to store all manner of stuff behind it. And here we have the heating stove. This is a Dickinson diesel heater, which of course I haven't used for a very, very long time. And now we shall proceed through the hallway forward, and over to the left here we have lots of storage, mostly spare parts and tools and papers and you name it. And here we have on the starboard side what we call the midship cabin. I have the sewing table set up at the moment with the sewing machine, because I have a lot of sewing to do. And we also have the original Genoa there as a backup in a bag. And this is the lower bunk, and there's the upper bunk. As you see, it's all used for storage. A lot of dry foods, dehydrated, freeze-dried foods, and all manner of other supplies. And now we continue forward. Again, lots of cupboard space on the outside, on the port side. And here we come to the head, what is called the bathroom for landlubbers. And it's very spacious, and it has a shower, and the curtains are up here right now. And over here we have a flow-through water heater, propane powered flow-through water heater. No shortage of hot water when you have to take a nice warm shower in cooler climates. And here we go forward now to the forecastle, and here you can see quite prominently the planking. The strip planking is varnished, of course, sanded and varnished, and it serves as the interior. No frames, no ceiling. It's the planking which serves a beautiful interior with a laminated frame here, and ample window space, ample book space. And here we have the classic Grey Seas Under by Farley Mowat, a classic. Everybody should read it. And there is the forepeak, which serves mostly as cordage locker. There's, among other cordage, there is a 1,200-foot 1-inch hurricane line that we've used in the Bahamas to tie off in middle of basins to trees and davit bases and so on. And on the starboard side, more bookshelves and a very spacious, wide, 7-foot long double bunk, which of course has lee cloths when needed. And down below is a lower bunk, which of course is not a bunk anymore. It's all storage for foodstuffs and supplies, sailing supplies, all manner of supplies, chock full. And here we have the Engel fridge freezer, which I use at the beginning of a voyage, in my last voyage. I used it to freeze 20 soups, 20 meals of soups in this beautiful fridge freezer. And halfway through the voyage, I kind of don't need it anymore and shut it down. So that was the beautiful forward cabin. And now we'll head back towards the saloon, looking aft. And in here, of course, is the chain locker that I cover separately. And here is our sofa on the port side. And that is Francisco Goya. And here we come back to the radio shack, the fridge freezer, and the companionway. And that just about concludes the general geographical overview of the interior. I am now in the starboard side of the engine room, which is largely a workshop. For instance, here is the wood working toolbox, in which I have virtually every tool that I use to build a Ahaluna and more. And here we have a wonderful vise made by the Ridge Tool Company. It has a channel rather than cast, very, very strong vise. And here we have a drill press, Rockwell 3/8 drill press. It has worked beautifully over the years. And here we have my pride and joy, which is a lathe. I really love this lathe, and I make many small parts and bushings and bearings on this lathe. For instance, the bearings on the mast roller boom, through the mast roller boom, all the bearings were made right here on this lathe. I absolutely love it. And it's amazing, even little things like cutting off a bolt to length or whatever to clean it up, you just put it on the lathe. Or to round hex head bolts that are too sharp for your liking, you can do it here first with a cutting tool, and then with files and sandpaper, emery paper, and so on. And here is a bandsaw. It's a metal bandsaw, portable. Normally it's lashed tight when we go in the ocean, and that is very handy for all manner of things. Up here is what we call a motorcycle hatch. We used to carry a 125 Yamaha Enduro, which was parked right here. We lowered it down with a main boom and also lifted it out with a main boom, and that worked out very well. There was very little needed other than take a couple of bolts off the handlebars to turn them fore and aft to come through the hatch. It worked very well. But then there was time. I inherited this lathe literally from a friend in the Bahamas. It was time to install the lathe and also a Kubota one-cylinder engine which drives a 12-volt, a 24-volt alternator, and that needs some attention right now. It's not running right, but I've found a mechanic to look at it. And here we have water tank fuel polishing through this F800 Raycor, and LGX with a vacuum gauge to see the condition of the filter. The transfer pumps are down here, and also water pressure pumps. There are 2 water pressure pumps here, and as well as a bilge pump up here. And this plumbing looks complicated, but it serves a purpose. For instance, I rinse the Kubota with this particular valve, Kubota Cool. I rinse with fresh water after running it, and I have the same thing for the main engine. Down there, I just throw a couple of valves and I flush the engine with fresh water after running it. And over here we have a solar controller. One of the solar controllers, as well as a sub panel. And here are the engine controls, which is single lever, shifting and throttle. This is shifting, this is throttle. Works very well. And down here you have a better look than from the port side of the variable pitch gear. That is the Hundestead gearbox to change the pitch of the propeller. And you also see the twin disc marine gear with a horizontal input and a 10-degree downward output with 2.5 to 1 reduction. And the linkage leads up here via that shaft to a motorcycle chain, and this runs up here to the pilot house, where I have a big bronze wheel that you will see later on, and with that wheel I control the pitch of the propeller. It works beautifully. And here is a utility compressor. I use it for utility air, as this, for instance, with a storage tank up here. And here are air horns for bilge water alarm. And I also use the compressor to as a hookup compressor when I'm over the side cleaning the propeller or working on the trim tab or whatever to clean it. And here's a storage tank for air. So these tubes, as well as the tubes that you saw over there, are simply containers for spare fluorescent tubes. I have a 4-foot fluorescent tube here, but unfortunately it doesn't want to light up. I changed it for a brand new one, still doesn't want to light up. So that explains the poor lighting in here right now, okay? Normally it's beautifully lit like the port side, but doesn't want to light up right now. And also here we have the CPU for the autopilot. As you can see, it's pretty large and complex. Many wires leading to various systems, the compass, the control, and the linear drive, etc. So that's it. That's the starboard side of the engine room. I'm very proud of it. I love it. Still in a state of chaos. The engine is in this box here, and we have all kinds of electric equipment here. Here's a battery charger that accepts voltages up to 400 somewhat volts. And then there's a spare inverter and various power panels, breaker panels, water maker parts. And the gearbox, the marine gear, is a detached V-drive by twin disc. It has a 2.5 to 1 reduction. The engine drive shaft comes out here, goes into the top of the marine gear V-drive, comes out at a 10-degree angle. And this is the gearbox. This is only for the VP gear, the variable pitch propeller gear. And everything is on shock mounts. The whole drivetrain is on 16 shock mounts. The engine sits on the bearers with 4 shock mounts. The bearers sit on the bulkhead brackets with 4 more. The marine gear has 4 shock mounts. The variable pitch gear has 4 shock mounts. So it's 16 shock mounts make up the whole drivetrain. Now we're looking inside the engine box. On the left you see a high pressure compressor for filling diving tanks, and here we have the injection pump of the engine, vacuum gauge to check the condition of the filters, and the injection pump which is a Bosch inline pump. I installed unique modification in that I installed a high pressure valve here and also behind here with transparent lines. And if you have to bleed the fuel system, you can do so without spilling a single drop of diesel fuel. You just open and close the valves and the fuel goes to the return line. And then here we have the twin Raycor filters, which let you switch over without losing any downtime or stopping the engine, just like on a commercial vessel, and that works very, very well. And here I have a unique feature that I learned from an old skipper, Skippy George Swinnerton of the Barlavento 2, and that's having a water strainer downstream of the raw water pump. That way, when the impeller might throw a tip, you can find it in the strainer, and you know that failure is very imminent. And also you stop any debris of the impeller going to the heat exchanger. So that's a twin purpose, and it works very well. Here is a unique feature that I figured out. This is the fuel supply line, and in case there's a blockage in the line from the tank to here, you close the valve on the filter, and you open this here valve, and you put compressed air here, and that way you blow any debris that might be in the line or at the outlet of the tank. You blow it back into the tank to be caught in future by a filter. So this works extremely well, and I'm very happy having done that. It has saved my situation on a couple of occasions in rough seas when a lot of stuff might get stirred up in the bottom of the tank. So that's my lovely Isuzu engine, 6-cylinder, 6.3 liter displacement, 125 horse as a truck engine, and 90 horsepower continuous for marine application. Wonderful engine, very happy with it. And that is the engine in the engine box.
Maritime Mobile, N4 JCY Maritime Mobile. Peter, do you copy the DA4YDC?
N4 JCY, very good copy, Jim. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Very, very well. Things are moving right along. And guess what? I'm recording this for my next YouTube video. I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. Well, what's happening there? How are you making all your projects?
Slow progress, but progress on many fronts. You know, too numerous to tell you all about it right now. But definitely moving forward.
Peter, I've made some progress on figuring out how to access ham frequencies easily with that Icon M710. I can't go into a lot of detail, but basically right now I've got it interfacing with WSJTX, the FT8 program, so I can play FT8 on it. Over.
That sounds great. That's really wonderful. Good to hear, and you're having fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Now, I'm still trying to figure out the rest of it. Anyhow, is the weather okay down there?
Say again?
I say, is the weather okay?
Yeah, a lot of thunderstorm activity, but not too close for comfort. But it's rather hot and muggy.
Okay, what are your plans now?
Well, just work away at projects. There's many to do, you know.
Okay. Well, I hope everything goes well, and your radio's working really good. It's nice hearing you.
Same here, Jim, and thank you for the good signal report. Great talking to you again, and probably catch you tomorrow also. Okay, so I won't hold you up from your net any longer. Good talking to you, N4JCY. Bestest 73s to you.
Peter, for what it's worth, you're a solid 5. You're solid S5, over.
Wonderful, thank you. That's music to my ears.
All right, 73s, and have a good week. I'm referring N4JCY, Maritime Mobile, in Mexico, and this is the Maritime Net, Whiskey Alpha 4, Yankee Bravo Charlie. And this time we'll open up the net for any other Maritime Mobiles. Are there any Maritime Mobiles anywhere that'd like to join the net?
This is the marine gear from the Saloon side, the twin disc detached V-drive. The reason for the V-drive is if I didn't have a V-drive, the engine would be sitting in the prime space of the saloon. Not exactly ideal. Now I want to show you something very special that I rigged here. It's very simple. This is the linkage to the shift lever, forward and reverse. And I can very quickly disconnect this. I pull this pin, undo this, and now I can shift here, forward, neutral, reverse. And the reason I've done this is to override any possible problem with the engine control that is up in the wheelhouse or the linkage. We've all seen maybe super yachts and all kinds of vessels in tight spots in marinas and so on. They have a problem and they keep on going, and they smash into other vessels and sink them on many occasions. Even classic big sailboats I've seen that were sunk in this manner because they have no quick solution of disconnecting the power to the propellers. I do that real quickly, and I don't even have to lift this. I do it from the engine room side over here where I was before. I can pull this pin from the engine room side without having to lift the heavy stairs here. So it's done in a matter of seconds. I can go to neutral, I can reverse. And here we have the shock mounts. Those are the shock mounts for the marine gear. As I have shown you, the shock mounts of the variable pitch gear and the engine bearers and the engine itself. So that is an installation here that I'm very proud of, and it has performed perfectly for 46 years. The overhead consists of 1x4 Western Red Cedar tongue and groove on top of 2x3 Douglas fir deck beams, and they are longitudinal, which is very unusual. And here is a 1x8 Douglas fir that goes all the way from shear clamp to shear clamp. It was very difficult to install because of its length. And the longitudinal deck beams, they give the vessel incredible stiffness, very stiff. And the thwartships planking of the 1x4 Western Red Cedar, on top of which there is 3/4 inch styrofoam, on top of which is a 1/2 inch plywood, and on top of which is fiberglass, making up the entire deck. Very light, thick, but well insulated. I hope you enjoyed this video. The next video will be about the deck, the rigging, the pilot house, everything on top, above deck. I hope you'll be around. See you soon.